The price of a heart. I used to believe my wife's laughter was the only symphony worth hearing, a sound so pure I spent 10 grueling years bleeding, sweating, and conquering the business world just to keep it playing in high definition. I built an empire of glass and gold, not for my ego, but to frame her smile. But tonight, the music died. Standing in the freezing rain outside her office, the symphony curdled into a funeral dirge. Through the glass, I watched her lean in close to her friend, her eyes sparking with a predatory light I'd never seen. Then came the words, shards of ice that bypassed my skin and shattered my ribs. "I don't love him," she sneered, her voice dripping with a casual venomous cruelty that cut deeper than any assassin's blade. "He's just a walking vault with a pulse. I'm only with him because the bank account never says no." In that one heartbeat, the woman I worshipped vanished, and all that remained was the cold, hard math of a parasite. The drive home was 30 minutes of absolute deafening silence, the kind of quiet that happens right before a storm levels a city. I didn't scream. I didn't put my fist through the dashboard. Rage is for the weak. I chose precision. I walked into my study, opened the heavy steel safe, and pulled out the one weapon she thought I'd never have the heart to draw. By the time she floated through the door, trailing the scent of a $300 perfume that I had bought for her just last Tuesday, the atmosphere in the room had already frozen solid. I didn't say a word. I just let the paperwork do the talking. I watched the blood flee from her face, leaving her ghost white as her eyes snagged on that single, jagged word, divorce. She tried to pivot, to slip back into the role of the devoted wounded wife, but it was too late. The stage was gone. The theater was empty, and I had already burned the script to ashes. Then came the performance, the floods of tears that had nothing to do with a broken heart and everything to do with a collapsing lifestyle. It was a masterclass in desperation. She collapsed to her knees, $5,000 worth of designer silk pooling like a stain on the cold marble floor. The excuses poured out of her in a frantic, incoherent stream. She was joking. She was overwhelmed. She was lost. She sobbed that she couldn't breathe without me. But as her fingers clawed at my sleeve, I saw the truth hiding in her peripheral vision. She wasn't searching my eyes for forgiveness. She was staring at the diamond-encrusted watch on my wrist, calculating the seconds until her world turned into a pumpkin. She wasn't mourning the loss of a husband. She was hyperventilating over the death of her unlimited credit limit. It wasn't a plea for love. It was a beggar's last stand for an allowance. She chased me all the way to the driveway, a trail of hollow promises and apologies that were 5 years overdue and $1 million short. She screamed at the top of her lungs, asking how I could be so heartless and cruel. I didn't even turn around. I just told her that I'd spent a decade learning how to be cold from the finest teacher I knew, her. I settled into the driver's seat and woke the engine. 800 horses of raw, refined fury that roared to life, effectively erasing her frantic, screeching pleas from the air. She made the fatal mistake of thinking my bank account was my only source of strength. She forgot that the man who had the iron will to build an empire from nothing is infinitely more dangerous than the empire itself. As the gates began to close, I wasn't just leaving a house, I was leaving a ghost. The messages didn't stop for a month. A digital trail of desperation leaking from a cramped, drafty studio apartment on the wrong side of the tracks. She's finally discovering the brutal exchange rate of her love on the open market. And turns out, it's not worth the rent. One last text vibrated on my desk, a pathetic, trembling plea. "Please, Marcus, I'm starving. I have nothing left. Just one chance to show you I've changed." I stood on my terrace, watching the sun bleed out over the ocean, incinerating the ghost of a life I once thought was real. I waited to feel a spark of anger, a flicker of old hate, but there was only a vast, beautiful hollow. Clarity is a silent predator. I didn't hesitate. I typed a single 3-letter execution order, the most expensive word she will ever possess, and the last one she will ever receive from me: no. With a single thumb press, I sent her into the digital void. The vault isn't just locked. I've melted down the key. She wanted me for my assets? Well, now she can finally account for her own. Total. Absolute. Zero.